Oh boy! All right, guys, it's going to be a very interesting one today. Um, I have a lot of friends who say that they're not political. You hear that phrase all the time. I'm not a political person. And I also have a lot of friends who talk about the fact that I'm in this industry and that you know I shouldn't talk about politics on air, that won't help me book gigs, et cetera, et cetera. But as somebody who wouldn't say I'm a political person, but as somebody who cares a lot about the planet that I live on and the people that live here, I think that everybody's kind of a political person now, and honestly, always. There doesn't seem to be an issue in 2020 that isn't made into a political one. So to say that you're not a political person is fine, but at the end of the day, if you are a person who cares about the planet that we live on and the people that you're around, then you kind of are partially a political person. And so I'm not a political person in the sense that I don't spend all day following politics. I keep up probably as much as the average person in terms of like if there's a major press conference or now a Twitter conference where President Trump is saying something, or if there is something going on in Iran or around the world or with women's rights or the Supreme Court. I try to keep up to date on a lot of stuff. I do listen to certain radio shows or watch like Rachel Maddow or things like that. Talk to my grandparents about politics and my friends, but I'm not a political host. You guys know I talk mostly about TV and movies and music and pop culture. But with with all of the Democratic candidates, I was finding it rather challenging to figure out who it was that I felt like my views aligned with the most, because it does get a little confusing and time consuming. And I was previously registered as an independent. I'm now registered as a Democrat. And you guys at home might have completely different political beliefs than me, and that's okay. I'm not here to shame anybody for their political beliefs or convert anybody to my political beliefs. I just want to be open and honest with you guys about what I believe and have a dialogue about it. And I think that this is a pretty cool way to do it, because the Washington Post put out an article. It was updated today, but I saw it a couple days ago. And it's which of these 2020 Democrats agrees with you most? And they did a really excellent job. It's kind of like, have you ever seen any of those BuzzFeed quizzes where it's like, which Disney princess are you? It's kind of like a more complex version of that, where there are 20 questions that they figured out where most of the candidates stand on, and you figure out where you stand and whose views you align with. And each time you answer something, it gives you which candidate is in the same, agrees with you, and then at the end it tells you who you agreed with the most. And I will, full disclosure, I've looked at this a couple of times now, and I know where I end on it, but there are one or two questions where I'm kind of on the line about. So I'm curious where you guys are. Be vocal in the chat. Be kind to one another, because this is not a forum to crap on each other or to anything other than express how you feel. And hopefully this will be helpful if you guys are voting for a Democrat, figuring out who you agree with, because it's still a very wide spectrum, and you'll see from this quiz, they have varying beliefs, as many people do. So I'm pretty excited about today's stream. Before we get into that though, before we fully dive into Washington Post's quiz, which I encourage you guys to take along with me, but also to look at it yourself. I'm going to put it in the live chat right now. And after the show, I'll put it in the description also. And also, if you are here, usually if this is the first time you're on the show and you saw Let's Get Political in the title, it's not, again, typically what we cover. But if you are here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe. I will be doing more things like this and just talking about things that matter to me. Things that are relevant to the world so that they matter to me, no matter what that is, whether it's cannabis, which you know I care a lot about, which is actually a question that we'll be talking about, or movies or TV or anything, sports, anything of the sort. And right now, this is what I care about. So that's why we're talking about it. So subscribe. We are trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. We're currently at 19.2. So let's get the subscribers going. Also, thumbs up if you haven't already. Tell a friend about the channel. We're trying to grow the Rockstars band. And super chat if you're having a good day, week, month, or even year. And the best way to financially support me is by going to streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. And that way YouTube doesn't take 30% because that's what they do for the Streamlabs. But whatever is easiest, most convenient, or the way that you want to support me, I will take. I appreciate it always. And yeah, I will be reading those out throughout the show. But definitely I want the main focus of the show to be what you guys are feeling, who you guys are supporting, and how, if this is helpful for you guys, which I hope it is. Let's start though just by knocking these super chats and Streamlabs out before we get into this quiz. Shout out to Michael King, who says, it's clearly Bernie. He's been on your side since before you were born. I was actually surprised where Bernie lied on this quiz for me. You guys will see. Jaytronic says, Trump 2020, then Neil deGrasse Tyson 2024. Hey, to each their own. To each their own. Also, guys, in the Streamlabs, again, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, from Morse code between yesterday's show and today, he said, when I watch you, I'm frequently working, so I'm usually barely paying attention visually when you're on SEN, Collider, or your own show. I hear Roxy. When you're on SJU, half the time I hear Power Levels, announcer, love your stuff. That's funny. Thank you. Also to Glenn Caesar in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, $50. Really appreciate that, Glenn. I'm going to skip the Harley Quinn voice right now, but he says, hi Roxy, love you and happy Tuesday. Today's SEN Live was great and seeing Sugar Rush Roxy was so funny with the nickname of Pooh Bear myself. I know the feeling, LOL. Anyway, I just wanted to say that you are the bestest. Keep crushing it, hashtag Rockstars Band. So for anybody who doesn't know, I was on Schmodown Entertainment Network this morning, SEN, and I ate a lot of sugar and I am definitely crashing hard right now. I need this caffeine. Yeah. Ooh. Yes, there's such thing as a sugar high because I got it. Unlike I've ever gotten before. It was a lot. So for anybody who does Streamlab or Super Chat throughout the show, I will 100% read your Streamlab or Super Chat on air, no matter what the amount is for. I appreciate you guys. I will do that towards the end, but send them throughout and I will gather them all. Wiley Todd right now in the Super Chat. Hey Roxy, got an interview for my future, but want to support. Wish me luck. Love you. Wiley Todd, thanks so much for being here. Good luck with your interview. You've got this. Go crush it, babe. And check out the stream later. Everybody wish Wiley good luck. You got this. You got this. Woo, guys. All right. I think nervous isn't the right word, but like I'm a little anxious about this one because we're going to break things down together. And again, I'm kind of average with my knowledge of politics. So some of the things they have in their explanations on what exactly it means, and we'll be going over those too so that everybody's kind of on the same page. But let's get started. For question 1 out of 20, guys, again, this is on Washington Post. They did a which of these 2020 Democrats agrees with you most? So these are just the Democratic candidates. Question 1 of 20. Some gun control advocates have called for a federal registry of guns. If someone buys a gun, they blank. Should have to register it. Should have to register it if it's an assault weapon. Should not have to register it. So for me on this one, I'm pretty clear that I believe that straight up they should have to register it. So some gun control advocates have called for a federal registry of guns. If someone buys a gun, they should have to register it. There are 2 candidates that agree with me. That's Warren and Yang. There are 4 candidates who believe you should have to register it if it's an assault weapon, which is Biden, Bloomberg, Sanders, and Steyer. And Buttigieg is the only one who believes that you should not have to register it. Curious where you guys lie on that one. Yeah, so that's question 1. Guys, look at us. We made it through question 1 alive. Nobody's fighting too hard in here. I'm sure I've made my moderator's job very difficult today. They must be on high alert. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Okay, so again, mine was you should have to register it. For question 2, recreational marijuana should be legalized federally, be decriminalized and left up to states to legalize, or remain illegal federally. This one can be a little difficult for people, but for me, it's be legalized federally. Now that does come with its own qualms, but I think remaining illegal federally, I think is egregious. It's crazy to me. And actually no Democratic candidates believe this. So remain illegal federally doesn't have any Democratic candidates that believe it. Be decriminalized and left up to states to legalize is what Biden and Bloomberg said. And legalized federally, Buttigieg, Gabbard, Klobuchar, Sanders, Steyer, Warren, Yang. So that's where I lie. You guys know I'm a big cannabis supporter in general. Medicinal marijuana, yes, but also rec. I think it's very important and also ridiculous that it's 2020 and it's not legalized. So the only complications with it is the federal legalization process could cause some certain issues. But as long as it's being legalized only by state and you can get prosecuted federally, there's just so many loopholes that it makes it too difficult to understand. And yeah, so be legalized federally. Curious where you guys lie. Don't forget to leave it in the comments if you feel comfortable. For question 3, 3 of 20. This one was difficult for me. Fracking has contributed to a boom in U.S. oil and gas production in the past decade, but it can affect the environment through groundwater contamination and continued reliance on fossil fuels. The U.S. should ban all fracking, limit or better regulate fracking, or maintain current policy on fracking. So I definitely know we should not maintain the current policy on fracking. That's a hard no for me. And actually none of the Democrats, none of the candidates believe that we should maintain our current policy. So for me, it was between ban all and limit or better regulate. And it's challenging because I know that fracking is horrible for our environment, and I think it should be completely banned. But when it says limit or better regulate, I don't know to what extent that is. So for this one, I did go with ban all, but and so did Gabbard, Sanders, Steyer, and Warren. For limit or better regulate, it's Biden, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and Yang. So I went with ban all, but I would really have to dive in more to what limit or regulate what they're proposing. But yeah, for me, it's ban all. Yeah. All right, guys, are we still alive? Let me look back in the chat. You guys doing okay? Everybody still here? Everybody still being friendly? Good. All right, let's get to question 4. Question 4 of 20. All Democratic candidates support increasing income tax on the wealthy, but some are also proposing a tax on the net worth of extremely wealthy individuals rather than just on their income. The United States should or should not enact a wealth tax. I've been hearing a lot about the wealth tax. I'm sure you guys have as well. And I think that it causes incredible complications because being able to judge, you would have to assess how much somebody is worth, and a lot is open for interpretation. I understand why people would want this, but I do not believe that we should enact. So I said the United States should not enact a wealth tax. I know this one can be complicated for some people, so to further explain, it says, to combat a concentration of wealth at the top, some Democrats are proposing a tax on the net worth of extremely wealthy individuals rather than just on income. Corporate celebrities from Silicon Valley and Wall Street have piled on against the wealth tax, but conservatives and even many Democrats have raised a number of objections to the wealth tax, arguing it could be easily skirted and may have limited political appeal. 12 member countries of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development had some fourth of wealth tax in 1990, but that number has fallen to just 4 by 2017. So the people who agreed with me that we should not are Biden, Bloomberg, and Yang. And Buttigieg, Sanders, Steyer, and Warren all think that we should. So I went should not. It seems like you guys are mixed right now in the chat. Kind of mixed. So and I think that's how a lot of the country feels. All right, question 5, guys. Question 5. Some Americans currently get their health insurance through federal programs like Medicare and Medicaid. Government-run health insurance should cover everyone, should be an option for everyone, should not be available to everyone. This one is really, really hard too, because the idealist in me who sees other countries who are able to do this feels like government-run health insurance should cover everyone. But I don't know realistically if it's going to work for the United States. This is why for me I chose should be an option for everyone. I want to say should cover everyone, and I'm torn, but I think it should be an option for everyone. I know should not be available to everyone. And by the way, no Democrats believe that. But I said should be an option. It seems like a lot of you guys in the chat agree. But it's hard. It's hard. I understand why somebody would say should cover everyone. Because everyone, like in theory, of course, that should be what happens. It shouldn't be that the poorer you are, the sooner you die because you don't have the options for health insurance. That's fucking horrible. But I marked should be an option for everyone. My opinion could change on that. I'm human. I'm always open for debate, discussion, and all of those things. So, should be an option for everyone. Biden, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and Steyer believe that. Should cover everyone is Gabbard, Sanders, Warren, and Yang. I typically tend to agree with Warren and Yang, but not on this one. Question 6 of 20. The U.S. should or should not consider setting a price on carbon emissions, such as with a carbon tax or cap and trade. So just to further explain this to people, because I think this one also is confusing. I am using the word confusing a lot. But this says, through a price on carbon, polluters would pay for the carbon emissions released into the air. Policies to price carbon include direct taxes on emissions and cap and trade markets, where polluters purchase credits for emissions. Many economists view this strategy as a cost-effective way for countries to reduce emissions, although it would increase energy prices for customers, with poorer households being disproportionately affected. Only about 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions faced a carbon price in 2017. That's according to a study by the World Bank. So in this one, because the way the question is phrased, the U.S. should consider setting a price on carbon emissions, such as with carbon tax or cap and trade, I said should. I do think it should be considered. And I think that we need to really, really look into it. Considered. I think we should consider it. Because so far it has not been considered. So that's how I came up with my answer on this one, that it should be considered. Who agrees with me? Biden, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Steyer, Warren, Yang. Who thinks it should not is Sanders and Gabbard. Question 7 of 20. 2 states allow all individuals to vote from prison, and many states restrict voting for convicted felons after release. Blank should be able to vote. All prisoners, some prisoners, only after release all prisoners, only after release some prisoners. This is another one I was kind of torn on. And I am very, very curious where you guys lie. very curious. So I will say that of these four options, no Democrats, and none of us think, of the Democratic candidates or myself, that only after release some prisoners. No Democrats believe that. So that one was off the table for the Dems and for myself. So I was between all three of these you could have compelling arguments for. But I think that my answer is some prisoners. Because some of the stuff that people go to prison for, I don't believe should make it so that they can't vote. And some people who are in prison, a lot of people are in prison for things that have more to do with our country's stance on race and sex, and I don't agree with it. The further explanation here is Democratic candidates broadly support voting rights for formerly incarcerated individuals, but only a few support allowing people to vote while incarcerated. So the only person who said some prisoners in here is Yang. And that's ultimately what I voted for. All prisoners, the only person who thinks that is Sanders. And after release, all prisoners is Biden, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Gabbard, Klobuchar, Steyer, and Warren. So I did some prisoners, because that's what I think. Anyway, guys, we're moving right through this quiz. Question 8 of 20 right now. Just checking in to see how you guys are all still doing. Are we alive? Yes, we are. A lot of people think some also. Some people think all. And a lot of people think afterwards. I get the argument for any of these. I really do. I get it. Question 8. Current law prohibits the use of federal funding for abortions except in the cases of rape, incest, or when the health of the mother is at risk. Federal funding for abortions should or should not be restricted. This one is probably the most easy one for me of all of them, and my answer is should not. And every single Democratic candidate thinks that they should not be restricted. There's not a single Democratic candidate who thinks that federal funding for abortion should be restricted. So for me, this is an absolute should not. Woman's right to choose, I believe that wholeheartedly. And I know that a lot of people in here agree with me. I know a lot of people disagree with me. But yeah, this was one of the easiest ones of the entire thing for me. To further elaborate on this one, it says, passed in 1976, the Hyde Amendment prohibits the use of federal funding for abortion services on Medicaid, except in the cases of rape, incest, or when the health of the mother is at risk. A Politico Harvard public health poll ahead of the 2016 election found that 58% of likely voters, including 37% of Democratic voters, opposed changing the current policy to allow Medicaid funding for abortions. Just for more information on that one. Oh boy. Question 9 of 20, guys. Getting to question 9 of 20. A universal basic income would give every adult a monthly payment from the federal government. The U.S. should or should not consider a universal basic income. This one was kind of wild, and I wonder how many of you guys have heard of this. I was talking to my grandparents about this the other day, and I do want to tell you guys a little more about what it is in case you don't know before you make your decision. Some candidates have embraced a universal basic income, the idea that every American should get a check from the federal government, regardless of work status, in part to offset job losses from automation. The proposal has been the foundation of the campaign of tech entrepreneur Andrew Yang, who proposes $1,000 per month for every American adult with no strings attached. Gabbard and Yang say they support a universal income, while Warren says she's open to it. And the rest, Biden, Bloomberg, Klobuchar, Sanders, and Steyer, all say that we should not do a universal basic income. For me, again, similar to what I did on the last one, the question is, should we consider it? And even Warren She says she's open to it. I feel the same way. I would need to know more about like what that would do, where exactly the money is coming from, how that affects people. Is it a rollout plan? Is it immediately? Is it every person the age of 18 up? Like all of those things. But should we consider it? I'm open to a lot of different things. So yes, I think we should consider a universal basic income. And it could be really helpful for a lot of people. So I said we should. We should consider it. What are you guys thinking? It seems you guys seem pretty open to the idea of a possible. So thank you guys in the chat for being open to it. All right, guys, we are on question 10. We are officially on question 10 of 20. Question 10. Under an employment guarantee, every American would be entitled to a government job if they want it. The U.S. should or should not consider enacting a jobs guarantee. To give you guys a little more information, an employment guarantee would offer a job to every American on a project throughout the United States aimed at addressing priorities such as infrastructure or the environment. Economists, including some Democrats, say there would be large logistical and practical challenges in ensuring millions of new federal jobs serve productive ends. So I know that in the past on this, I've been saying, because of the word consider, that I try to go with that they should. But this one to me just seems, and I don't mean this offensively at all, but like slightly ludicrous, that every American would be guaranteed work. It's not that it's not a good idea in theory, kind of like, communism, but I just cannot see a world in which this would actually be something that they could do or would be useful or helpful. I said on this they should not consider it. Biden, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Gabbard, Klobuchar, Steyer, and Yang all think that they should not, and the two that think they should are Sanders and Warren. Which makes us halfway through the quiz, guys. We are halfway through the quiz. You guys seem torn on that one. Most of you guys think should not, but some torn, and I completely understand. As we are halfway through, guys, don't forget to thumbs up this video, subscribe if you have not already. We're trying to get me to 20,000 subscribers, so tell a friend. And don't forget to super chat. I'm going to read all of those towards the end. Streamlabs is the best way to financially support me. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Let me know where you guys are where you land on this quiz, how you're doing. Really curious your thoughts on these. If you agree with me, disagree with me, which candidate you ultimately end up getting. Again, Streamlabs, super chat, all that great stuff in here. That is very, very helpful. Okay, let's get back to the quiz. 1 second. Okay. Question 11. The Obama administration focused its deportation efforts on 3 groups: recent border crossers, convicted criminals, and national security threats. The U.S. should halt deportations, focus on convicted criminals and threats only, focus on all 3 groups, aim to deport anyone in the country illegally. Of these options, the option that I connected with, the one that I feel like we should do, is focus on convicted criminals and threats only. Aim to deport anyone in the country illegally, I think is so wrong, and no Democrats agree with that. None of them. Focus on all 3 groups is Buttigieg and Yang, and focus on convicted criminals and threats only, the one that I think is Bloomberg, Klobuchar, Steyer, and Warren, and the person who thinks we should halt deportations is Sanders. A lot of people are all over the map on this one. Everything from HALT to the other option that none of the Democrats think, but some Republicans do, is try to get anybody who's in the country illegally out. So really, truly, all over the map for this one. The people are, but for me, it's focused on two of those three groups. Ben Goddard, by the way, big ol' boy Ben Goddard from SEN in the chat right now. Ben, we're getting really political, and as I explained to the people after my previous sugar rush from SEN, I'm in an interesting place. It's a weird time for me to do this political stream, but hey, why the hell not? I'm a weird chick, so. Okay, so again, I did focus on convicted criminals and threats only for question number 11. For question 12, healthcare for many Americans is provided by private insurance plans paid through their employers. In an overhaul of the American healthcare system, private insurance should be eliminated or continue to exist. I won't pretend to know what the solution is for our healthcare issue. Similar to the last question, where it's like, should everybody be given healthcare automatically no matter what? Yes. Theoretically, yes. Is that practical? I don't necessarily think so. For this question, where they're asking about if in an overhaul, if we overhaul the system, private insurance, should it be eliminated or not? I think in that situation, I think that if it's not eliminated, then there will always be issues. There will always be different issues that come to pass. So I've gone back and forth on this one. Curious what you guys think. But at the end of the day, I do think that if we do an entire overhaul of the American healthcare system, that I'm so torn. It's like giving more information on it. It says all the candidates support using government healthcare programs to expand coverage in the U.S. Some Medicare for all proposals, including those from Bernie Sanders and virtually, and Pramila Jayapal, virtually eliminate private insurance by providing basic coverage for medical, vision, dental prescriptions, and mental health care. Other candidates would prefer that private insurance continues to be available alongside a government-based public option. I said, the last time I took this, I said that I think it should be eliminated, but honestly, I think probably it would continue to exist. But if we're living in an idealist society for this question with this overhaul, I guess I say be eliminated. That's a really tough one though. And honestly, on any given day, I feel like I flip-flop back and forth on that one, which is probably why I'm not a candidate for president. Not that that's the only reason, but one of them. Question 13 of 20. The United States currently requires employers to provide 12 weeks of unpaid family leave, but no paid leave. The United States should guarantee more than 12 weeks of paid family leave for workers, 12 weeks of paid leave for family leave for workers, or fewer than 12 weeks. For this one, for me, 12 weeks of paid leave seems relatively fair. No Democrats think fewer than 12 weeks. For more than 12 weeks, Sanders, Steyer, and Yang think. For 12 weeks, Warren, Klobuchar, and Gabbard, Buttigieg, and Bloomberg, and Biden think. The Family and Medical Insurance Leave Act, introduced by former presidential candidate Kirsten Gillibrand and Rosa L. DeLauro, would create a fund to guarantee up to 12 weeks of partial income for workers to care for newborn children or family members with serious illnesses. Most 2020 candidates have backed the legislation, with some calling for a longer span of leave. Republicans have proposed their own paid leave legislation that would allow workers to receive Social Security benefits early to offset time away from children. It's interesting to me that of the female Democratic candidates, which are not the only people affected by this, obviously, but are theoretically the ones most of the time giving birth. Gabbard, Klobuchar, and Warren all said 12 weeks. So interesting to take a look at that. I said 12 weeks as well, and that is how I feel. Curious about you guys. Let me know what you're thinking in the chat, super chat, Streamlabs, all that great stuff. Going over to question 14 of 20. In the past year, the U.S. government spent nearly $1 trillion more than it raised, but some argue that urgent policy initiatives should take priority over limiting the national debt. The president should or should not commit to stabilizing or lowering the national debt. Giving you guys a little more information on this one. In 2010, the Obama administration created the National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform, otherwise known as Simpson-Bowles Commission, to look for ways to slow the growth of government debt. But the 2017 GOP tax law dealt a significant blow to government revenue and efforts to rein in budget deficits that have fallen away. Candidates have proposed major new healthcare and climate initiatives that come with price tags in the trillions, which some experts say will require raising taxes on the middle class to stay deficit neutral. I think that we should not commit to stabilizing or lowering the national debt. Again, theoretically, yes, of course we should commit to that. But with everything else, it does not seem to be the priority right now. So I think we should not. Although again, bunch of tough calls. Thank you to everybody who's joining me in here live right now, over 200 people. Again, don't forget the thumbs up, super chat, Streamlabs. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I'm really proud of you guys all for staying really kind in here. I know politics can be very, very complicated to discuss, especially on air, but rock stars forever, wherever you fall on these political views. And I'm just happy to have this platform to be able to talk to you guys about this stuff. So again, I think should not. Buttigieg, Sanders, Warren, and Yang think that they should not. Biden, Bloomberg, Klobuchar, and Steyer think that they should. So very split down the middle. Question 15 of 20. The Supreme Court has had 9 justices since 1869. The president should or should not consider adding more justices to the Supreme Court to change its ideological balance. A little more on this one. This seems to be something that people are talking a lot about these days. Liberals have increasingly called for the next Democratic president to increase the number of Supreme Court justices. The call to do so grew after Senate Republicans successfully blocked Merrick Garland's nomination to the bench in 2016 under President Barack Obama's. President Franklin D. Roosevelt planned to pack the High Court after its conservative members struck down parts of his popular legislative accomplishments, such as minimum wage increases. Roosevelt backed down from the plan after the court reversed its ruling on the minimum wage issue. I think that we should consider this. Again, with the word consider, but definitely I think we should consider this. Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Steyer, Warren, and Yang think that we should as well, while Biden, Bloomberg, Gabbard, and Sanders think that we should not. So pretty split on this one too with 5-4. I think it should be considered. I think that sometimes we keep things in place because that's just how they are, but if it's an antiquated system, then it's an antiquated system. And like this says, it's been like that since 1869, and we might need something else now. So I think it should be considered. Question 16 of 20. Nuclear power is the nation's largest carbon neutral energy source, but high-profile accidents and the question of where to store nuclear waste complicate its future. The government should expand, pause the expansion of, or phase out nuclear power. This is another one. And honestly, when I had a home or my dad had a home in Plymouth, there's a nuclear power plant there above ground. It's one of the few left in the country. And so this was a big hot topic thing of conversation for us growing up about what would happen. And anyway, so again, the options: expand, pause the expansion of, and phase out. Interestingly enough, I didn't think that any of the Democratic candidates were going to think expand, but Yang does think expand. Also, if you're curious what this is talking about, think Chernobyl, basically, essentially, is what this is asking about. For me, I think that probably I'm stuck. I'm stuck in between certain things, but my heart says we should try to phase it out with all of the complications. I understand that it's the largest carbon neutral energy source, but with all of the complications and disasters, here's a little more about it. Accidents at 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima have caused concern about the safety of nuclear power and halted construction in many countries. The 96 active U.S. commercial nuclear reactors generate roughly 1/5 of the nation's power, but 11 are scheduled for retirement by 2025. Only one U.S. reactor began operating in the past 20 years. 2 new reactors are under construction in Georgia, with loan guarantees received from both the Obama and Trump administrations. Nuclear power is one of the most divisive climate change policies in the Democratic primary. Where are you guys? Curious where you guys lie on this one. Again, my mind could be changed about this. I don't think we should expand, but pause the expansion maybe, but I think I go with phase out. As of now. The people who are with phase out: Warren, Sanders, Gabbard. People with pause the expansion: Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Steyer, and Yang thinks that they should expand. Democrats all over the board on this one. Democrats all over the board. All right. Question 17 of 20. I know you guys were talking about this in the chat earlier. The government should make 4 years of college free, debt-free, or affordable for all families, including the wealthy. Free, debt-free, or affordable. For more information, in the 2016 Democratic primary, Senator Bernie Sanders and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton sparred over how best to subsidize the rising cost of college. Clinton's plan would have ensured that students did not have to take out loans, but it would have still required contributions from families that could afford it. Sanders' plan was free tuition for all. Since then, some have proposed even bigger plans, making not just tuition, but also other fees free at public schools. There remains a divide as to whether the benefits should depend on students' financial need. So free, debt-free, or affordable are the 3 options for the Dems. And for me, another challenging one, because in a world of all worlds where I think that things are fair and equal and you know, living on a planet that is like that, I think that it should be free. But what I really think here is affordable. Affordable to me seems like the best fight to fight. I think that it's challenging, but I think doable, and free I think might not be. Sanders and Warren think it should be free. Steyer thinks debt-free and affordable. Biden, Bloomberg, Buttigieg, Gabbard, Klobuchar, and Yang. So affordable it is for your girl rocks. And it is a good question. A lot of people saying, like, what is affordable? I don't know. But I think it is a better fight to lower costs and make things more affordable than they are now. And maybe that is based on income and merit and a slew of different things. Question 18 of 20. Americans owe a record $1.6 trillion in student debt, with 2 in 10 borrowers behind on their payments, according to the Federal Reserve. Student loan debt should be canceled for everyone, canceled for lower incomes, reduced but not outright canceled, or left alone. Another college one, guys. This says, in the past elections, Democrats' focus had been on helping future students afford college, but that does nothing for those who already have student debt. New proposals seek to wipe out existing student loans, a controversial notion given that some Americans who owe large sums attended graduate schools for law, medicine, or business, and have or likely will go on to earn large salaries. Again, ideally cancel for everyone, because, like, stick it to the man, everybody get your education, but I don't think that would work. For cancel for lower incomes, it's hard because lower incomes when you're right after out of college, it can always change, like based on how they're, what the income is, if they have a family. There's so many different things. I don't feel like they do a good job really figuring out what somebody's financial situation is. It's just income. So for me, this one is reduced but not outright canceled. I think they should be majorly reduced but not outright canceled. I'm sorry. I know that that's not a popular response. No Democratic candidates think that it should be left alone. One thinks it should be canceled for everyone, and that's Sanders. Warren and Bloomberg are the two that think it should be canceled for lower incomes, and reduced but not outright canceled. Biden, Buttigieg, Gabbard, Klobuchar, Steyer, and Yang. And that's where the Dems lie on this one. So reduced but not outright canceled. Question 19 of 20, guys, our penultimate question. Getting there. In 2016, Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton received more votes than Donald Trump, but lost the election. The U.S. should consider or should not consider eliminating the existing Electoral College system in favor of the popular vote. I absolutely think they should consider it. This seems to be something that comes up every election, at least most of them since I've been alive. And I think it is a bit of an antiquated system. And I at least consider, it should be considered. It has to be legitimately looked at and talked about. More on this, Senator Jeff Merkley has introduced legislation that would replace the Electoral College with a national popular vote. Several states have instead pushed an interstate compact in which states would agree to allocate their electoral votes to the candidate who wins the national popular vote, regardless of the winner in their state. If enough states joined the compact, so that they made up more than half of the electoral votes, it would effectively end the Electoral College. Harris and Klobuchar said they are open to the change, while others explicitly support it. So I think they should consider it. Curious what you guys think. Don't forget to comment, super chat, Streamlabs, all of that stuff. Question 20 of 20, guys. We've almost made it through. The last question on this quiz. As president, Barack Obama spent years negotiating a free trade pact with countries bordering the Pacific Ocean to counterbalance China's economic might in the region. Hillary Clinton opposed it in 2016, and President Trump withdrew from the agreement. The United States should or should not consider joining the latest version of that agreement. This one was challenging. This one was very challenging. Obama negotiated the trade pact between 12 countries bordering the Pacific Ocean in the final years of his tenure, arguing that the accord would increase U.S. exports and create an alliance to contain China's economic expansion. But the deal faced a difficult path in Congress, with many progressives arguing that it would hurt American workers. President Trump withdrew the United States from the plan, and the remaining 11 countries moved forward without the U.S. participation, signing the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnerships in March 2018. The Dems are split on this one. And honestly, I feel kind of torn on it as well. But I think that let's consider it. The people who think you should consider it are Biden, Bloomberg, and Yang, and Gabbard, Sanders, Steyer, and Warren think that we should not consider it. What do you guys think? Curious. I think that until I know more about it, that we should consider it. Should be considered. So, should consider it. Anyway, that was the 20 questions, so I finished. The person I agree with the most is Elizabeth Warren. 14 agrees, then 13 with Yang, and 10 with Buttigieg. Those are my top 3 candidates, which is interesting because those are the top 3 people I thought were my top 3 candidates. I will say one other time I did it, Yang and Warren were reversed, with Yang at 14 and Warren at 13. I think it's because I told you guys I was torn on that question. But yeah, I that's where I lie. That's where I lie. And I did meet Elizabeth Warren back in the day when I was in high school, and we went to DC for the day, and she is somebody I've looked up to for a really long time, and I do think she'd be amazing. Andrew Yang has really surprised me with this race, and how many things that I feel like I really agree with him on, and I really like him a lot. Sanders, as much as I think he's an interesting guy and has a lot of great ideas, we only got 9 correct, and Biden, Bloomberg, and Gabbard 8. So those were all towards the end of the line for me. Yeah, so those are mine. I'm curious about yours. Let me know right now in the Streamlabs, in the super chat, how you guys are feeling, what you are feeling. I did pull a super chat from earlier from Sonia Frameth, who says, even though I'm not a citizen, I'm taking the quiz, which I appreciate. Thanks for doing that. You're still allowed to have opinions and thoughts and advocate for certain things if it affects you or if you have a strong opinion on it. Going over to the Streamlabs, guys. Streamlabs from B. Arthur Can Get It. I love that handle always. Had a doctor appointment today, so I missed see you on SEN Live. It's definitely Bernie for me as someone who has a pre-existing degenerative back condition. While I totally understand Christian shying away from these topics on his shows, I appreciate you having these combos. Thanks, B. Arthur. I appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of people don't really dive into it, but I decided to. So here we are. Bob says, are you aware that socialism is a form of mass slavery? We should reject politicians, political parties who tolerate socialist ideas in their ranks. We should strive to protect individual freedom and reject democratic fascism. Bob, I think that you should, there is a, I think you should do what you feel is right and best. And I think that words like reject and fascism and socialism, they get thrown around a lot, but I think people should do what they think is right and fair and what their heart says, and protect themselves and protect others and do what they got to do. So Bob also says, all the photos of the kids in cages scandal were taken in 2014. Why do people in Hollywood lie and falsely accuse President Trump of putting kids in cages when it was President Obama who had put all of those kids in cages circa 2014? I do think that the kids in cages thing, a lot of things that politicians use are to rile people up, and but that's not fully accurate. That's not a fully accurate depiction of what happened. But I do think that images, what do they say? A picture speaks 1,000 words, and that's why politicians do use, and the news and all that use images. Mikey Alito, this is a brave topic for you to discuss in your capacity as a host who is dependent on all your viewers. My answer is Bernie Sanders, mainly because he's been consistent on issues for over 40 years. Good luck with all your endeavors in 2020. Thank you, I appreciate that. I don't know, maybe it is brave, maybe it's not. Maybe a lot of people unsubscribe to me after this, but I'm never not going to be who I am. You guys know that about me, and if I walk the walk, I got to talk the talk. And so Bob again. Hello, Bob. AOC lies and falsely claims the world isn't going to end in 12 years. Shouldn't we all unite and call a climate science denier? Kids are developing anxiety disorders by hearing lies like that. AOC knows she's harming children for political gain. I don't agree with that, but that's your opinion. Samantha Ramirez in the Streamlabs again, guys. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, /Roxy Stryer. Get your own name right, Roxy. Also, don't forget to super chat, Streamlabs, like, comment, subscribe, all of that great stuff. Really, really curious your guys' thoughts on this. Samantha Ramirez says, I took the Washington Post quiz and I most align with Warren with 14 out of 20. That's what I got with her as well. She was already my favorite going in, and it's good to know that I actually seem to agree with her the most. Thanks for sharing the quiz. It was extremely helpful for me. Hashtag Rockstar Army. Thanks, Samantha. Yeah, I think that I really want to be helpful. If you guys are voting, if you're not voting Dem, then this quiz is not helpful for you. Unless you want to know like which Democrat you agree with the most, or what people believe, or what the counters are to things. But if you are a Democrat or you're voting Democrat, then to me it was incredibly helpful to figure out who and what. And kind of like you said, Samantha, I like Elizabeth Warren best too. I've always really liked her. And who knows if any of these people have a shot against Trump. He is a force. And honestly, if I had to be true to what I believe right now, I believe he probably will win the presidential election. I do think that. But I think that Elizabeth Warren would make a really great president. And it's interesting to see that not only did I feel that way because I feel that way about her, but also because our views align. And I was happy to see that. Very happy to see that. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Again, let me know. People in the chat, how are you feeling? Who took this quiz? I'm going to put it in one more time just in case you guys would like to take it, because it was really helpful for me, and I hope it's helpful for you guys. Here we go. Yeah, so let me know. Super chat, Streamlabs, you can always do that after the fact. Thumbs up. Tell people about the channel. Those are things that are really helpful for me. We've almost been going for an hour, so we will be getting out of here in the next few minutes. But really, really appreciate you guys being here in the first place. Also, patreon.com/RoxyStryer. And let's see, what are you guys thinking? A lot of Bernie in here. Warren 2020. Only Biden can beat Trump, says Michael. A lot of people are voting based on that. Yeah. So, all right. That's the stream for today, guys. I'm going to try to stream tomorrow afternoon. It will not be as political. I'll do these every once in a while, though, to gauge the temperature and see that you guys, I care about this planet. I care about the people. I know you guys do too. And I'm really glad that you guys did stick around for this. I know, again, it's not TV and movies and all that stuff. Kaylin Rose in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/RoxyStryer. I'm a college teacher. Seeing students get so close to graduation but just can't afford their last semester of the year of school is heartbreaking. But if my state keeps cutting our funding, tuition will keep going up. Sad. That is really sad. And I think a lot of people vote with their specific circumstances. That happens all the time. And I understand why you have to vote with your own heart and wallet and all that stuff. Everybody has to do what they have to do. So anyway, thank you guys again for joining today. If you're watching after the fact or now, thumbs up, subscribe, tell a friend, hashtag Rockstars. You guys are part of the Rockstars band, and I really appreciate that. Thanks for getting political with me today. And in the comments, leave if you took the quiz. Where do you lie? If you don't want to do that, you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to, but I appreciate you guys being kind in here today. And the most important part is, if you are eligible, remember to vote. And yeah. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys soon. See you tomorrow afternoon. And Rockstar forever.